What was your "are you serious" moment? Story 1. Had a new boy in the office who had no idea of what personal hygiene consists of. Not a great start. He was loud and obnoxious, not even good at his job. Then one day, at the smoking shelter, he starts talking about catching rabbits in traps. He's pointing to the fields around the building and saying he's going to ask for permission to put traps out there. We laughed. For all the nonsense he talked, not one of us took him seriously. When we go back inside, he heads straight to the cubicle of our office manager. This cubicle is adorned with pictures of rabbits. Some are her pets, some are just rabbits she thinks are cute. She has statues, rabbit pens, and pencils. Nobody in their right mind would have asked this woman in this cubicle about going trapping rabbits. He did. I was surprised he made it to the end of the day. I was not surprised when he didn't return the day after. Story 2. I just had one yesterday. I've been going to my local high school running track to jog and exercise since the lockdown. Well, to park your car, you have to go through a driveway that's designed with arrows as one way. There's an exit on the other side of the parking lot. Anyway, the soccer moms in town are notorious for parking their cars in this driveway and making it hard to get into the actual parking lot. As I pull into the driveway, one of these women thinks that it's a brilliant idea to put her car into reverse as I'm entering. I couldn't swerve out of the way because there was an SUV parked right at the mouth of the entrance, taking up half the available space. So I reacted and honked my horn. She proceeded to panic, throw the car into drive, and run it into a small boulder that lined this driveway. It ripped the passenger side air deflector clean off. According to her, I am now an effing a-hole that honks her horn for no reason. Story 3. I work in a somewhat popular restaurant, fast food style. Think Chipotle, Panda Express, Panera, and it was my first shift as a line cook by myself. I had already worked in the kitchen and could do every position there, but it was my first time doing it by myself. Well, it was a busy night for us, and we were short-staffed. By the time we had slowed down, I had been exhausted and very hot. I had been standing over 8 burners for about an hour and was taking my lunch. I sat in the office and the AC was blasting, and it was well needed. My coworker who was cashiering that day took her lunch 15 minutes after mine started. She saw me in the office and demanded I get out of her spot and told me being a cashier is harder than being a line cook because she has to deal with the public. When I told her I wasn't moving, she told me to F off and was very mean to me for the rest of the night. It took about everything in me not to slap her, but instead, I told my coworkers who told the mod, and soon after she was fired for stealing. Story 4. Used to work at Disney World. It's 9 a.m. and a lady came into our guest services demanding a refund on her turkey leg because it tasted weird. We asked her details to process the refund. Turns out she bought it 3 days ago and was carrying it in her bag since. Story 5. 20 years ago, a girl tried to fight me in a bar. All I did was look at her funny, unintentionally. I was going to the bar for a round of drinks and forgot the order. Happened to be looking at her when I was lost in thought. Anyway, she challenged me outside. I couldn't believe it. I'm 6'1", 220 pounds, and she was small. Anyway, the bouncer heard her and kicked her out. She was still on the sidewalk an hour later when we left. Followed me to my car, pushing me and punching my back. It was surreal. Story 6. A woman claimed to have left her money at home while I was working one day after she ordered 2 sandwiches. They take about 10 minutes to cook. I said, "That's okay. When you come back, they will be ready." She said she wanted the sandwiches first, and that she'd be right back after she and her daughter ate, because they lived right around the corner. I said, if you live right around the corner, you will be back before the sandwiches are done, but I cannot give you food before you pay. She lost her mind on me. It was wild. She left with no food and didn't come back. Story 7. I worked at an arcade/bowling alley combo that served food like a full restaurant. My position had me deliver the food and take the dirty dishes to the back. So, there's a group of like 6 people bowling, and they ordered our sampler platter that had a little of everything from the appetizers menu. I brought this platter out and sat it down, asking if there was anything else they needed. Without really looking, this woman says, "We're good." I begin to turn around, and this woman grabs my arm and yanks me towards her like I was her little kid and says, "Where the F are my chicken wings?" In disbelief of what was happening, I paused, looking at her and then the platter. Eventually said, "They're right there, ma'am, in this little basket on the platter." She lets go and with a skeptical expression says, "Okay," as if she really didn't believe the wings were there. If I didn't hate working there, and my shift was any farther from being over in 10 minutes, I would have spoken to a manager. But I didn't care enough to stay to get it sorted and just wanted to leave. Story 8. A customer came to pay for some lessons and I swiped her card upside down, so I had to swipe it again. She caused a scene stating I charged her twice. I just sat there with a monotone. I only charged you once. Every time she took a second to breathe. Story 9. While working the front desk of a hotel one day, a woman handed me her debit card for payment. With our software, we insert the card and it takes a minute to process in the reader and load the number properly into the software. As I'm waiting for the reader to finish with the process, I start making her classic magnetic strip style key cards for her room. Our key maker was an old machine that made plenty of loud beeps as you programmed the keys. And given its age, most times I would have to try 3 or more times to get a key to program correctly. I hand her card back along with 2 key cards and she just screeches, "What did you just do?" Baffled and confused, I just said, pardon? To which she just repeatedly yelled, "What the F did you just do? I'm just giving you the keys to your room, ma'am. All I need is a signature and you're all good to go." She then called 911, not even the non-emergency number. 911. I had no idea what was going on. I tried to ask her what she was doing and she just said, "I'm not saying another word to you until the police get here. I know my rights." Okay. She then went outside the lobby and waited for the police to arrive. Some minutes later, she came back in with an officer, pointed at me and said, "That's her. She's the one." I was the only person working. Long story short, it comes to light that she thought me making her key cards for her was me swiping her debit card multiple times and charging her thousands of dollars. The officer comes behind the desk, asks me to repeat the process I did with the key card reader, and asks her if that was the noise that she heard. "Yes, you see?" He then told her that was the sound of the keycard maker, and not me swiping her debit card. She just stood there, staring for a second before getting red in the face, grabbing her belongings, leaving the keys and unsigned folio for the room with me, and storming out while yelling, "I don't have to deal with this." She then called a few hours later about the single approval hold for the room that was put on her card, accusing me of trying to steal from her again. Story 10. I also work at a hotel desk with a janky card swipe. I've had guests claim I am making a copy of their room key to sneak in later. I've had guests lose their minds when they found out a security deposit hold goes on their card. I've had guests absolutely baffled that they need to put a card on the room at all. I've had guests come down at 3 in the morning to yell at me because our town, smallish college town in Kansas, doesn't have a nightlife scene in the wee hours of a Wednesday morning. Story 11. The time this mother yelled at me for saying excuse me, she and her family were taking up an entire bike path, including the shoulder. Instead of cutting through them, I moved on to the shoulder and cheerily excused myself as I passed her. Didn't touch her, and she didn't really have to move since I managed to squeak by. Yet, as I passed, she started screaming a bunch of stuff. Well, she did not expect me to come to a screeching halt and ask if there was an issue. She promptly hid behind her husband and wouldn't even look at me. All that energy for what? Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and activate the bell button to receive notifications to my latest videos.